Don Mazzella here again for Small Business Digest. Across my desk, someone said value at work. That was about a book. So we had to have the author on our program, and she's here now. Lauren Neal, welcome to the show.
Hi, well, thank you very much, Don. Great to be here.
Lauren, as we ask all our guests, first tell us a little bit about yourself personally, then about not so much the book, but what you do and how you do it, and then finally where people can learn more.
Yeah, sure. So, as you said, my name's Lauren Neal. I grew up in Aberdeen, Scotland. Actually lived there until I was 30. Went to school, went to university there. My mum's originally from Trinidad, moved to the UK when she was 4, and my dad is from the UK, but became a diver in the North Sea. So was always flying in and out of Aberdeen, and that's how I was born there.
Mhm.
It's a very common question that I get from everybody, particularly taxi drivers, where they say to me, "Where are you from?" And I
Mhm.
say, "Aberdeen," and they just look very confused. So, yep, I grew up in Aberdeen. When I finished school, I was really into computing and maths, and I went on to university to study electronic and electrical engineering. I quite enjoyed it. Again, I stayed in Aberdeen for this. I went to the Robert Gordon University, and in 2006, I graduated, and then I joined the energy industry.
Mhm.
Um, being in Aberdeen and being engineering, it wasn't a total surprise, but that's where I ended up. And I spent the first few years working for a company that developed software for optimizing assets offshore. And then 2009, I moved to a different company and they turned me into a subsea engineer. And I was visiting sites. I went offshore and onshore doing power cables, umbilicals, subsea equipment to be able to open and close valves subsea. And I quite enjoyed it. Then 2014, I was working for a guy that said to me I needed to be broadened. So rather than just doing one piece of subsea equipment, I was then in charge of looking at all the subsea equipment on a particular project. And, I started working very closely with suppliers, different parts of the organization, and really developed my project management and prioritization skills. But a lot of times still, really working closely with the teams that work offshore, very male dominated. And then sometime around about 2016, 2017, I started getting really interested in the diversity and inclusion aspects, particularly in the energy sector, because I think we all know that the gender balance just isn't where it should be, not in, now 2023. So so I decided I really wanted to do something in the diversity and inclusion space. I had encountered so many women, some offshore, majority onshore, sometimes working in the same company as me, sometimes working in other companies. But I started seeing trends. I started seeing they would come and talk to me about particular experiences that they had. Now, some of them were quite extreme. They were, some downright disrespectful behaviors that were said to them, about them. And they came to me asking, for my advice, some coaching, mentoring. What would I do if I were in that situation? And suddenly I had a light bulb moment and I thought, hang on, this isn't just one or two people. This is happening a lot. And it's not what I think stereotypical is thought about, that it's not just about, I'm going to say, for example, being told women belong in the kitchen and not in the workplace. Sometimes it's so much more subtle than that. It's like speaking out in a meeting and then suddenly everybody's silent. And then the next response is, let's park that, we'll pick it up later. And the person who says it ends up feeling like, did I say it right? Did I do the wrong thing? What did I do wrong? And where I've come to the conclusion is, in so many cases, there is nothing wrong with that individual. It's for whatever reason, they are not being included. Because in a truly diverse team where you actually want to include people, you want all the perspectives, because you never know if someone's going to come up with something that is the secret solution to the problem that you've been facing. So that's my background up to today, and showing where I'm really passionate.
Now, we can see that. So I haven't stopped there. Where can people learn more about you?
So I direct most people to my LinkedIn profile. So it's Lauren Neal, Lauren, and Neal, Neal. I am on LinkedIn probably more regularly than I should be. We know social media probably isn't the best thing, but I love the platform for getting to know people. I think as a platform, it's evolved a lot over the last few years. But I do have a website that's a work in progress. I'm hoping to have that operational by the end of the year. But as of right now, I would say LinkedIn is the best place to catch me. And I'm always happy for new connections, and to have conversations, either real conversations like this, or if it's instant message.
Okay, now, Lauren, after all of this, you wrote a book. Well,
Yes, I
that's why
did.
you're on the show. Okay. Uh, what's his title? I know you have a copy there. So, what's his title? And tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about it.
So this is the book. It's called Valued at Work: Shining a Light on Bias to Engage, Enable, and Retain Women in STEM. Now, where did this come from? So it was actually last year. This all happened very quickly. Last year, I heard Tim Cook from Apple say the solution to the diversity imbalance is that we need more girls studying coding at school. And I have no disrespect to Tim Cook, but I'm listening to that and I'm thinking, you could, by all means, yes, let's have more girls studying coding at school and coming into the industry. But what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from so many women and others from under-recognized groups, that bringing more people in isn't going to solve the problem. That's where we've got the leaky pipeline, the revolving door, all these words for it, the glass cliff, and so on. My take on this is you can have the most confident and competent women coming into these organizations, but if they are not included and they are not feeling valued, they are either going to walk right out that door, or for whatever reason, if they need to stay, they are going to be soul destroyed. They're the ones that are probably very, very competent, and they are stuck doing, booking the meeting rooms, arranging the team away days, taking the notes. And these people could be superstars, but they're not being recognized for the true value that they bring to an organization. And that's what really prompted me to write this book, because I thought there are too many men that I speak to who are brilliant, but they have no idea that this is going on. And I wanted to be able to write something that men would pick up and feel some sort of connection to. So I definitely didn't write it to say, here's all the problems. I think there's probably quite enough of that in the world. So what I decided to do is show the perspective from two men. So there are two characters, one called Steve. He works for a tech company, direct for the CEO, and he's noticed women are leaving the organization and he doesn't know why. He's also noticed that his clients are telling him that they're losing work because the team is not innovative enough. And then you've got Marcus. Marcus works for an energy company, and he has a 6-year-old daughter called Isabella. And he wants her to have every door open to her when she grows up. So the two of them meet at the beginning of the book and hear a lot of stories about women in STEM and their experiences in the workplace. And they agree to do reciprocal mentoring and to meet once a quarter. And through those meetings, the reader is a fly on the wall to see, what are the stories that they are talking about? You hear where Marcus is talking to women in his organization, outside of his organization, and he brings those stories to Steve, and you get to see Steve's reaction. And then what's Marcus's reaction based on what Steve has said? And it was really fun writing it, because I started thinking about stories that I have heard where, sometimes Marcus and Steve get it right and sometimes not so well. So, really looking forward to see what people think and their feedback.
Okay, that's a rather clever approach to it. Is your book rated fiction or nonfiction?
It's officially a business book.
Okay.
And so it is inspired by real life events. All the stories in there are real. Some are from my experience, some are from the many people that I have interviewed. But Marcus does not exist, Steve does not exist, and all the characters are fictionalized, same as all events and places and so on. But it is inspired by real life events.
Well, are you in England or are you in the States?
So I am based just outside of London in England.
Okay. Well, I have to ask the question. Do you think that what you're saying applies to the United States as well?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I think it applies to many places in the world. I've spent some time in the States, obviously spent some time in the UK, spent some time abroad. What I have found, even the women that I interviewed lived in lots of different countries. And the feedback that I've got from each time is that the stories resonated so deeply that they felt that they knew Marcus. They know their own versions of Marcus. They definitely know Steve. One of my friends who lives in New York said to me, everybody knows Steve.
You know, of course. My wife is a Harvard Business School graduate, so and even they've suffered that on occasion. But let me ask you a question. I didn't get a chance to read your book. I didn't get a copy yet. But well, people will say, "Well, she got ahead because she slept her way to the top." That's the usual answer to most questions. But if I hear your book correctly, what you're trying to do is teach men how to look at women differently. Am I hearing that correctly?
That's one aspect of it. What I actually talk about in the book as well. So sometimes it's about looking beyond certain situations. So, for example, too many times companies focus on courses and training for the women to make them more confident, make them more assertive, more training for public speaking skills, and so on. Again, like I said earlier, I firmly believe you can have the most confident and competent woman walking into the room, but if they are not included, no one's going to win. But sometimes it's not the men that are the problem. Sometimes there's other things at play. One of the aspects I talk about in the book is tall poppy syndrome. Again, not my term. This is, I think this was coined many years ago now, where someone is perceived of rising too quickly, either having too much visibility, too much spotlight, and they need their head chopped off. And that comes from men and women. It isn't always the men. Other things that has come up in the research that I've been doing is the concept of queen bees, where a woman has reached a position in an organization and she is completely defending it, even from other women that are coming up, because she's worked so hard to get to that place. She doesn't want anyone taking it from her. And so, like I said, it's not always about the men. What I'm trying to show in the book is men absolutely have a role in this. This isn't about women fixing women. This is about men advocating for women, for those from under-recognized backgrounds. This is about men and leaders in general, getting to know their people. Don't just rely on your immediate team telling you what's going on in the organization. Go and talk to people, build these relationships. I mean, how great would it be, a young person in an organization, to have a direct line to someone at the top of the organization who would do reverse mentoring with them, or offer shadow opportunities to come to a board meeting or a really important meeting. That would be fantastic. And those are the types of ideas that I'm putting into the virtual room, that for people to take away from the book, really actionable items that they can try. I'm a big believer in psychological safety, that if you want the best out of people, you want them to feel comfortable around their work colleagues and in their teams, that they can come up with these ideas. They can make a mistake and it won't be held against them. So, that's another example of an actionable technique that a reader can take from the book and go and implement it. And I guarantee it will have positive outcomes.
Well, I'm going to ask you the question then. But most men or women who rise to the top rise there mainly because they've had a rabbi or a mentor that's pulled them all up. If you look at the careers of almost every leader of the current 500, I have a friend that's writing a book on this. You have to have somebody above you helping you.
Absolutely. And so I absolutely, anyone that I speak to, male, female, anything, I say to them, they need to build their network. And again, I would put that at all levels. You definitely don't want to have one person, because you never know if they're going to leave the organization. You want to have a suite of mentors, but more importantly, sponsors. Sponsors are so important. Mentors are great because they will share their advice, their experiences with you, but a sponsor can open doors for you.
Yes.
The sponsor will speak behind closed doors of conversations that you never hear about, but they are in your corner championing you. And whether that's a woman doing it for a man doing it for a woman, I'm a big advocate for sponsors. And I think there are lots of leaders in the world that really don't appreciate how much power they have in that space. And I would just love to see more active sponsorship.
Your book again and how people can get it?
So it's available on Amazon and lots of good retailers, but I would say you go into Google, type in "Valued at Work, Lauren Neal," it comes up, but it is definitely available on Amazon as a primary first place to go.
Show the book again to our audience.
Here.
Okay. Bring a shining light on bias to engage and enable and retain women in STEM. I like it, but it also applies to just about any industry.
Yes, that's correct. One of my beta readers, he's in education. He was a high school principal for a long time. And he said that his wife read it, not a woman in STEM, and she said the stories resonated with her. So I would hope to see lots of different people reading it. I hope it adds value and just makes the world a little more positive.
Well, we have just a couple of minutes left. What would you like to leave our audience with?
If you are a woman in a male-dominated environment, or from an underrepresented group, when you look around that there's not a lot of people like you, one, you are not alone. Two, if you're struggling, it may not be you, despite what a lot of people are saying. And thirdly, I would say definitely reach out. I'm a big people person. I really like talking to people from all different walks of life. More importantly, if you are in an organization and you are in a position of leadership, get to know your people, advocate for them, sponsor them, and really understand what is going on in your organization. And the best way of doing that is having one-to-one conversations at all different levels and build these relationships, because you will find out things that you didn't already know.
Well, on that note, Lauren, Neal, we say thank you so much for a very interesting half hour. Thank you.
Thank you very much.